Hey guys, it's Ben with Myers Woodshop. I'm coming at you with another 3D printer assembly and first look video. This is Labists 3D printer. It's the ET4. I'm not sure if this is the same as the Anet ET4. It has the exact same name and it looks very similar. So it may be the same machine, just rebranded by a different name. All these Chinese printers are very similar and they come from probably the same factory. So we'll take a look at how good this printer is. We'll compare it to the Anet ET4 and see if it is the same thing. But let's unbox this and assemble it first. We have the user's manual, some PLA, Allen wrenches, extra belt, the bolts to put stuff together, a micro SD card inside a reader, an extra nozzle, and an extra Bowden tube holder. We have a gift for you. Kudin ID and shipping address, and they'll give you a gift. Printing bed sticker for printer. I don't know what that is. All right, we have the top piece. Looks like that all comes pre-assembled. We have the hot end pre-assembled. Take that out. We have the base pre-packaged in here. And we have a power cord and the filament holder. And this is everything that you'll get in this package. Okay, at this point we have it all assembled. Now I haven't tightened any belts, which I could do, and I haven't tightened the eccentric nuts to keep everything tight. So it does show you some of that in the manual. The manual is actually really well written and really good English. I'm very impressed. So this all went together pretty easy. The only thing I really hate about these style printers is the way to like hold the base while you go horizontal with the gantry and stuff. I had to get my son to help me hold it up to be able to screw it in. So it took a little bit of time. But other than that, it was super easy. And I really love how the plugs in the back here, when you're plugging everything together, it was all labeled really well. I'm so far super impressed with the build quality, the assemble quality, and what all it has. Now I am about to turn it on and we'll check out the software that's included. It does say from the bat it has Marlin 2.1, which is the most recent Marlin. I'm super impressed with that. I always try to find the most upgraded firmware with my 3D printers. Sometimes you have to hack it to get the new features and the newer Marlin. And this one so far should come with that, so we don't have to hack it, which would be pretty nice. So let's turn it on and see what the software looks like on the controller. So we have print, prepare, and setting. If I click on print, we have nothing. Prepare, we can do level the bed, filament load, preheat. We have settings. We have manual, X, Y, Z. We can move the gantry. We have info. We have version 1.0.1 ET4. This is a 220 by 220 by 250, Labists.com. And this is our upgrade for firmware. So maybe they make it where the firmware is very easily upgraded. And I love that feature because that doesn't exist in any other Fringer other than a Prusa that I've had so far. Update fail. Well, I didn't have an update. So let's go back and try manually moving the print. So we're going to go ahead and click on Home. So it's finding its limits and moving to the home position. Now I haven't leveled the bed at all, so we'll see how that goes. Now it doesn't have a Z limit switch. It actually has a probe inside to where it will be perfectly level to the bed. The thing we need to do is tighten the belt up here. It's pretty loose. What I like about this, and the Ender doesn't have that, is that we have an actual ability to tighten the belt. We just loosen these 4 nuts or bolts that are holding the Z motor on, and we can grab the Z motor and pull it out. Have to loosen them a little bit more than what I've done. So we can move the Z motor back and forth and tighten it up. Now that's great and all, but if you can't really grab it and pull it at the same time, it's kind of all for naught. So I'm going to take this Allen wrench, stick it in here, and kind of just pry it the way I want it to go. Like that. Get as tight as I can possibly. So I got the top 2 tightened. I'm going to go down to the bottom and try to do it the same on the bottom. And that belt is much tighter now. Now we have the same ability for the belt down here, and it's going to be moving this here. So I'm going to move this forward, and we have the 4 screws over here we can loosen. Although I'm not sure how I can get to the one underneath the bed. Not very easily. Just have to move this back. Which is near impossible. Good concept, but we need it to be farther back. And I'm worried if I loosen it, I'm never going to be able to tighten that one back down. Not sure what's going on there. Something is keeping me... Maybe I have my things too tight, but we can get to that screw now. All right, in order to tighten this belt, we just move this all the way forward. We loosen these 4 bolts here. And now we can push our Y motor this way, and it'll tighten that up. Again, I'm going to use the pry method, which is a little harder now. And our belt is tighter. Still a little loose, but tighter. All right, so I'm having a major issue with this. I couldn't move the bed past this point. It was really, really rough. So I took it all apart took the belt off, looked, and I have this head right here rubbing against this screw. It's like it's bubbled up right here because this screw and this head aren't touching anything. It's really odd. Something is different, I think, with those, and I'm not sure what. So I'm going to take this apart, check it out. It looks like maybe the V-wheels aren't on quite right. I'm going to take these off, check it out. All right, so you can see my V-wheel here. Focused. You can see some of the metal and then some of the rubber isn't on there, which means that this V-wheel isn't all the way on the bearing, which makes it rise up farther than it should. So I need to push that down onto the bearing, which should be very easy. All I need is a slight tap. And we're now all the way in the bearing. You can see now we're all the way in the bearing, and we fixed that. So we need to do it to this one too, because that one's kind of off. All right, got it fixed. Rolls perfectly fine now. So I've never seen that before where the V-wheels weren't on perfectly right onto the bearing, but if that's what it takes to fix it. So now we'll just put everything back together where it goes. All right, after all that time, I finally got it put back together. Tighten the belt. I can move it easily. So we fixed that issue. So now we want to level the bed. So again, this is one of those leveling the bed takes forever. I'm just going to level the bed and I'll show you it off camera. I'm doing the auto bed level process. You still put a piece of paper on there to keep the gap, but you can see the probe turns red when it's finding where home is, or the Z height is to auto level. So I can see how it kind of is laid out. I'm 1 over here, I'm 0.6, and I'm 0.8 across the front. So it'll keep doing that. And I'll let this run. It's about a 6-minute process. It'll be leveled, then I'll load some filament, and we'll print something. We completed leveling, so we'll hit OK. Take that off. And now we're going to load some filament. My filament from them, we're going to put it up here. I'm going to go back here, prepare, villa load. I'm going to load it. I changed the temp to 210. It'll wait for that to temp up, and then we'll load the filament. It does have a filament sensor in the back here. So we're going to come from this way, and we're going to push it through that filament sensor so it knows that there's filament going through it, then through this hole, and we're going to pull this tight here. This is an all metal hot end, which is really nice, or an all metal extruder. So when we push it through, I'm going to go to about here, and we're going to push it through some more till it fits all the way through, and I'm going to shove it in down the bottom tube till it comes out to the hot end. You need to make sure when you're doing this that the hot end isn't touching the bed, or you won't be able to push any more through because it'll squish it all. So filament is kind of when you twist these little sample filaments. But there we go. All right, so our hot end is heating up. We're at 130 of 210. So we just gotta wait till it heats up, and then it'll extrude some plastic out. I can hear the extruder is turning and forcing black, which is interesting because I have white. So they must have practice printed something with black. The white is coming out, and it's coming out perfectly fine. So everything's good there. I don't know how long it'll keep extruding and filling a filament, but we're good. So we're gonna hit back. I just hit back, it did cancel it, so we're perfectly fine there. All right, so I stuck the SD card in. That is a brand name SanDisk 4 GB, which is great. That's better than usual. So if I hit print, we can see we have a cat, a rocket, or a dog. It tells you how long it's going to take. Dog is 2.5, rocket is 0.5, and cat is 3.5. So we're going to do the rocket Oh, and I have to select up and down and hit OK. So it is now loading 210 for the extruder and 40 degrees Celsius, which is a little interesting, for the bed. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, here's the first print off the machine. It does push it back. I wish it didn't do that. Wow, it looks phenomenal. I just took it off. I am separating the layers when I squeezed it. You can see I just cracked it, but set it down here. You can see the layers. There's hardly any. Printed really, really well, except for kind of around the feet here. It does have a skirt on it. I'll take that off. The feet actually may say some words. GH, GH, GH. Okay, so the feet isn't bad. It's not a bad print. It just has some names. So the print looks phenomenal. That sample print is just absolutely perfect. So now we're gonna print something else that's on here. We'll go to print, take this off, and we're gonna do a dog and hit OK. We'll print the dog, see how it comes out. All right, this one finished. Again, it stuffs it to the back. This is a dog I've printed on the Ender, I think it comes. They printed on a raft, but he's pretty decent. We got some stringing, meaning our filament may not be at the right temperature. We do have some artifacts over on this side. You can kind of see some wrinkling and such. And that's smooth. It looks like it'd be bubbly and you'd feel it, but that's smooth to the touch. So we do have some, a little bit of this and that on this print, but overall a really good print. Of course, that is from their pre-sliced file, so we haven't printed anything of ours. And we are using the filament they provide, which is usually not very good. So these are our 2 prints so far. We'll do the 3rd one that's left on here, and then we'll print something that I slice and I have created. All right, this is our next one. That first test we had was a layer shift mess. This is PETG, so the bottom doesn't look very good, but there's that one. You can see it shifted. This next one, same thing, PETG. It's printed at 0.3. It's pretty messy in here. You can see the waves, which does not look very good. This is at draft level though, so it's not very high. You can see how it warped up too, bending, but it did come out. So that's 0.3. Okay print. We didn't have any layer shifting on that though. But you can see the overhangs came out pretty nice. There is lettering and there's no drooping down of any of that. So that came out pretty nice, but okay quality. All right, so this is the Labist right next to the Anet. They're both the ET4 model. This model sucks. It had so much potential to be good, but the leveling will not stick. I can level the bed perfectly, print something. As soon as I go to print a second one, it like loses all its information and I have to level the bed. I have spent probably 8 hours total leveling this bed and re-leveling it and re-leveling it and re-leveling it and manually leveling it and re-leveling it and adjusting the Z and re-leveling. That sucks. I hate this. When it prints really, really nice prints. This is something I printed out of PETG. It print really well. All of the models that I printed that were sample printed really well. But the whole thing that this relies on is manually or automatically leveling the bed, which this thing sucks so bad at doing. This thing, apparently after doing a firmware update, it sped this printer up. It's like twice as fast as this thing now, and it remembers where the leveling was. That's the main key. I cannot flash the Anet firmware onto the Labist. For some reason it will not work. I don't know what the difference is, because if you saw a little bit earlier, I showed you underneath, it is literally the same motherboard inside. All of the parts are exactly the same. There is no difference between this printer and this printer except for two things, maybe three. One, the filament sensor on this one and the filament sensor on this one. The Anet is printed. The Labist is actually like injection molded. And then you can see underneath here for the leveling knobs, these are tiny and these are really big. And then we have our hot end. This one has a probe that attaches and goes underneath, and then you detach it. This one has a probe inside it like the Prusa. However, it doesn't work anywhere like the Prusa where you set it and forget it. It forgets itself because it's stupid. So I do have issues with the extruder up here clicking. It's trying to extrude more than it can, so it's clicking and losing and clicking. Apparently that doesn't affect prints. It will print just fine, but it's not working correctly. So that is the Labist printer and basically the Anet ET4. They're both the ET4. They are the same printer. Someone just bought this and relabeled it, as far as I can tell. I wouldn't buy either of these. It's not very good. I have plenty of other videos to point you to some good printers. I always say the Creality Ender 3 has been a fantastic, solid printer from the start that will still last with you years later. We're still printing on it and it prints really well. Another one is the Sidewinder X1 from Artillery. That is printed really well. It's very quiet and it's very big. And those are the two really that I would recommend in this price range that are Chinese knockoffs. Always, I recommend if you're going to buy one, buy a Prusa. They are by far the set it, forget it, and I'm done tinkering with kind of machine, except that's much, much more expensive than either of these. So if you're interested in these still, I'll leave links in the description below, but check out the other videos that I've done on the other printers that are much better than both of these. So as always, thanks for watching. Happy printing. If this video helped you out, leave a... That's it. I don't even care. I'm done. This is the printer. I can throw this away and content is shot.